3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running.
Whether you've been married 1 or 20 plus years, at some point, you realized you were married into crazy.
And that's what our podcast is all about. We offer love, laughter, and a dose of reality as we unpack this crazy thing called marriage.
So sit back, relax, and get your ear hustle on. It's time to start the conversation.
All right, let's go.
Welcome to another episode of Married into Crazy with Snooks and Lovey. I'm Lovey.
I'm Snooks.
And she almost didn't make it to this one, y'all.
Whatever. Lovey is such a man baby. Oh,
She's about to get
gosh.
choked out. That's about to be WWE all up in the studio.
On the podcast?
Wow. I said WWE.
Wow.
And we know that's fake.
WWE. Some people don't know that. They be fighting about it.
I don't know. Hey, look, she over here messing with the whole format. So, as you can tell, we are a married couple because we sound married, right? She did this and he did that. Da, 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 da.
Do you know we're matching, basically?
And that is not by the. Okay, so here's.
I just realized that. I was like, huh? Okay.
Fun fact, guys. After year 15, your mind no longer belongs to you. You will do things like just out of the blue, start matching. Those things that we didn't want to do. You know, you guys remember like taking pictures early on in your relationship and you're like, oh, we're going to be matched. We're going to color coordinate or we're going to wear the same t-shirt or all that craziness.
We never did that.
No, we did not because I was not down for that. But
if I
as it so happens,
I wanted to, you would have been down.
As it so happens, over the course of years, she does a mind meld. I'm just letting you guys know up front. There is a mind meld to where she will control you because you will find that just like today, just a moment ago, she points out like, hey, we're matching. That was not by design.
I noticed that, but I had the little pink in mind and you
mind control.
That just right now, this evening.
Straight up mind control, fellas. Okay, you know what? This is the real part. Real. You will lose your mind, literally. They will take over and occupy some space and make you start matching.
You know what? I'm not even about to comment. I'm just going to let that go.
And who else is matching?
Like Elsa.
Synchronized swimmers in the Olympics. We're so off topic right now.
That's okay. So yeah, since Lovey brought the Olympics up, we watched the opening ceremony on Friday. And we've been watching kind of every day, you know, stayed up late, heck of late.
You about to give a blow by blow every one that we watch?
Yeah,
no.
Want to, but okay, I won't. I'm trying to be.
No, but we watched it. I mean, what? Okay, so what's been your favorite so far?
No, of course, gymnastics and volleyball.
Yeah, men's or women's?
Well, both. It's different watching. The energy is so good watching, you know, both of them. The girls, that's my jam, you know that. But the boys too, man, it's just amazing. I just love it. I really, really love it.
I don't know how them guys are getting that ball up. I mean, the Libros are just doing their thing. But I'll tell you what, it's been fun watching. Like the other day I was watching, what was I watching?
We watched skateboarding.
Oh yeah, we're watching skateboarding.
I was thinking,
okay, this is gonna suck. I'm sitting there watching it, and I'm watching these 13-year-olds competing against a 36-year-old, and I'm like, this is amazing.
Yeah, it was crazy because I didn't know. I guess, well, this is the first time that skateboarding has been in the Olympics. It's kind of cool because they had Tony Hawk on set, and he was talking about just, you know, how basically glad he is that skateboarding has become.
I could have been Tony Hawk.
Okay.
I could have been Tony. My mom messed it up for me.
I'm not even.
All my friends wanted skateboards, right? So this is back when we lived on Casa Linda. Everybody wanted skateboards. I was like, yeah, I want a skateboard too. And so, of course, what do? You tell me you want a skateboard for Christmas. So Christmas comes around, all I care about is getting a skateboard. And then I'm ripping through stuff, and there was this one box that was just long enough. And I was like, yeah. I was like, this has got to be my skateboard. Plus, it was like, she wouldn't let me open it to the very end. So I was like, okay, this is it. I'm ripping through the box. You know how it is. You're tearing through stuff and they're like, slow down, slow down. I'm like, nah. And I was too. It was like that. I was like, no. And ripped it open. And I saw what she got me.
Was it a skateboard?
It was a skateboard.
Okay.
It was a yellow banana.
What is that bad?
It is bad. For all you skateboarders out there in my age range, you know what a yellow banana looked like. So my friends are out there like, knocking on the door. Ernie, you gotta come out. Come on, did you get a board? Did you get a board?
Oh, because skateboard. So was it a yellow? It was a yellow.
Yellow plastic. It was not. It was a yellow
It
plastic.
wasn't even cardboard. What is that? Plywood?
Or whatever. It wasn't like a traditional skateboard. I was like, you've got to be kidding me.
Aw.
I was like, but my mom was so happy, so pleased to get me a skateboard.
Did you take it outside?
I took it outside.
Did you get teased?
I got into a lot of fights.
Because it was yellow and plastic.
It's not even shaped like a regular skateboard.
Funny.
I don't even know how to explain it. I mean, I'm gonna have to find a picture and post it on social media of the yellow banana skateboard. This is what she got the black boy living in this neighborhood. That was like when you say, I want some new shoes, and she got you some sandals, some lace-up sandals or something crazy. And you try to go out and run with everybody. Okay, look, she has no idea. Snooks has no idea what a yellow banana skateboard is.
So were you, how did you respond? How did you react?
I had to act like I liked it. Come on. Back in the day. You know what? Now that I think about this, happened to me twice. There was the yellow banana skateboard, right? And then there was the time, I mentioned this like probably a couple of years ago on the podcast.
The big one?
No, the big one was cool. She came through on the big one because I got a green machine.
Okay.
Yeah. I made up for that because I was the only one with a green machine. But she had to learn her lesson because that was number 3. Number 1, number 2 did not work very well. Number 1 was, actually, the bike came first. So everybody had BMXs. Everybody's like, everybody's going out in the field. And everybody's riding their BMX. I'm like, yeah, I want a BMX. Because my ex-brother-in-law, so I had this brother-in-law. And, well, he wasn't my brother-in-law back then, but we were kids. I was like 9, 10 maybe. And so my brother-in-law, he had a twin brother. He and his twin brother had like what we would loosely call a gang. It wasn't really a gang. It was a bunch of kids on BMXs. They had BMXs, or even the knockoff BMXs looked like BMXs.
They were the cool kids.
They were the cool kids. Wait. They had, their group was called the Black Knights. And I wanted to be a part of the Black Knights. So I was like, I need a BMX. And I would say, I want to ride with y'all. No, you got to get you don't even got a bike. You got a yellow banana. No. They didn't say that, but it was like, you got to get a bike. In order to ride with us, you got to have a BMX. Because they go out in the fields and they're trying to do tricks and stuff. And I was like, all right, all I cared about was, I want a bike for Christmas. I want a BMX. And BMXs were expensive. And I was like, I want a BMX or something like it. And he was like, okay, you want a BMX? I was like, yeah, Dad, I want a BMX. And my dad and my mom, they weren't living together. They're divorced. So I was like, I'm going to tell her. I'm going to tell him. One of them is going to get me a BMX. Look, they might even pull their resources. I don't even know. But somebody's getting me a BMX. Christmas comes. Right? I'm like, I go underneath the tree and I'm like, what is this? It was a red-orange 10-speed. No, it's a 10-speed. Ain't nobody doing road races back then. They tried to do Tour de France? I'm like, are you kidding me? So I go up to Mike and I'm like, I got a bike. And he's like straight face, like, Negro, that is not a BMX. And I was like, oh no, you can't ride with us.
Oh my God.
But no, actually they did let me try and ride with them and I couldn't, even though I had the 10-speed, them dudes was like, I'm keeping up with them. And then they would take off and they're like, they're pedaling real fast. And I'm sitting there switching gears. and you hear you hear like the chain
Oh my
switching
gosh.
gears. And then what would they always do? Them fools would sit there and then take off into the field. No, and I can't go out in the field with my 10-speed.
He's like, let's ditch him.
Pretty much. My dad said, you better not ever take that bike out in the field. And of course, what did I do? I took the bike out in the field trying to ride with them. There was this what's it called? Like a track. So there's a track they made and it goes all the way around the field. They had like jumps and all this other stuff. And I'm going through trying to be cool on my 10-speed, doing the jumps. Like, I'm gonna show them. I did one lap. I come back around. Why is my dad standing there with my little sister?
Because Nat told.
Lynette, she snitched. Lynette said she wonders why I taught her to ride a bike the way I taught her to ride a bike. But she snitched. Dad's sitting there, and he wasn't even being cool about it. He had a belt in his hand. Had a belt in his hand.
At the field.
Wearing his little terry cloth shirt with a big old long collar, and took me in the house and proceeded to give me the beat down. So then fast forward a couple of years, and I want my skateboard, and my mom gets me a yellow banana. As a matter of fact, it was my dad that got me that red orange, because I could never take the bike over to my mom's house. The bike had to stay at my dad's. And so then anyway, I'm all depressed now. The red orange 10-speed.
But you said they made up for it with the green machine.
My mom made up for it with the green machine.
Okay, well.
Because then you got a little bit older, and it was like green machine was like big kid stuff. I was like, when I had that green machine, and you sit there and you would hit it, you sit there and twist it real quick, and all of a sudden you would sit there and skid out, and do a little spin.
Yeah, do the spin out. Or
yeah, that was cool.
That is funny. Oh my gosh.
See, now, so funny. I need therapy.
Oh my gosh.
All that to say, Tony Hawk was on TV this weekend.
Right. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna need to frame this episode because you always talk about how I go on these long tangents about nothing just to say one thing. So
If my mom was alive, I would call her right now.
Right now and be like, Mom, what was you thinking?
What was you yellow? It couldn't even be like a black banana. It was like a yellow.
I did the best that I could with what I had.
And she did. She absolutely did. And I yell at my kids.
I wonder.
No, she called me Ernest Jr. at that moment. I was complaining.
Well, see, they get that from you, so you can't ever say they get it from me.
Anyway,
did you forgive her?
So I am 53 years old, still talking about a yellow banana.
Wow.
So yes, I need therapy.
Then you do need therapy.
But you know what? But the challenge was this weekend, as much as we tried to watch the Olympics, doing what we do, working with couples the way that we do, people have a tendency that, friends, family, come to us with some challenges from time to time. And, and it's one of those things where it just seems like no matter how close a proximity is, challenges are always going to rise. As sure as the sun is going to rise, the challenges are going to pop up from time to time as well.
Yeah, and the hard part is how we deal with the challenges, So myself, I had kind of a rough week. One thing about myself, I feel emotions of other people, and sometimes I feel them like I carry them like they're mine. We talk about empathy, and it's experiencing the emotions in the shoes of the other person, and that's sometimes to my detriment because I wear those emotions and those feelings sometimes of those that are close to me. I mean, it's almost like a second skin, and I was so I was having a really, really hard weekend, so we had to watch the Olympics to make me feel better. But there was a situation where someone very close to us was very distraught and very upset because they were going through something in their relationship. Excuse me, sorry about that. So one thing that we had to, after I got out of my own feelings, we started talking about compassion, being compassionate. and kind of dealing with how being compassionate can lead to forgiveness, or how it's almost like they're kind of hand in hand. And she's kind of beside herself, and she's like, no, you don't understand, blah blah blah, whatever. And it made me think about our situation, year 4. And I just want to say this, I don't know why, but it's like this is a 20-year anniversary of year 4, because
What?
we've been 20 years since all of that happened. And when I think back on where we are versus where we were, because at this point in our relationship 20 years ago, we were actually going through it, you know. And it was the I don't see a way out kind of, those were the feelings that, it was just so many
That's so
feelings
funny.
that we were experiencing. But I just thought about that. I was like, wow, that was literally 20 years ago. So we're in our 20-year anniversary of
Almost getting divorced. And at this juncture, this timing,
where we were.
where we were 20
Yeah.
years ago today, or this time frame,
Mhm.
we were not cool.
Yeah, it was we were going through it. So one thing that in just kind of sharing with her, I was talking about how I had to learn how to how we had to, I say myself, I had to learn how to forgive. And to forgive is to let go of anger and to let go of resentment, which is sometimes one of the hardest things to do. You kind of spoke about forgiveness. I think in how forgiveness, it was one of our podcasts back in December, how forgiveness is a superpower.
Right.
And you talked about the situation with yourself and the ex who stabbed you, and how you saw him and you were able able to forgive him.
Right.
So,
So when she said the ex, she meant her ex, not mine.
wow.
None of my
Really?
exes have stabbed me.
Wow.
They may have wanted to, but none of them did.
Okay. Anyway, so, but when we look at just for, like I said, for myself, during this time, we and it wasn't until I think I learned how to be compassionate, to show compassion and be compassionate, were we able to make a shift. And you also uh learn to do the same thing. We know that compassion is a desire to alleviate distress or hurt feelings of others, or suffering of others. Sometimes when we're going through it, we don't know how to operate with compassion because we are still upset, we are still hurt. Or we can't see past our anger and see past our own hurt feelings. I know I couldn't see past my anger, and I couldn't see past my hurt feelings to know that you were also hurting, that Lovey was excuse me, also hurting. I felt like I was trapped, I felt miserable, and I also felt like it was because of you, of in your and the in-laws, some of them, um that I was feeling this way, or your actions or inactions. Actually, that's what made me feel like I was I was trapped in this. But when I stopped and I started thinking about, like, wait, that's not, he's not the only one that's hurt. I'm not the only one that's hurting. I have to think about how I would feel if this was someone in my family that was acting a certain kind of way. How easy would it be for me to approach that person and say, hey, you better knock it off, because whatever.
Well, how'd you go from being, I don't call it selfish,
Well,
but
that's kind of,
self-focused, to being more compassionate?
you know what? It was, I know that we went to counseling, and we did coaching, but it was like, I don't know what exactly at that point what was the shift, but it was something that one day I saw you. I literally saw you, and I
Standing
started.
in the rain.
Okay. No orange juice. Okay. But it was like I felt like, because I was praying the whole time and everything, and it was just like the Lord just like, open your eyes, you know, you need to open your eyes. And when I did, I just opened my eyes. I was like, wait, I'm not here.
Fine.
Are you gonna do this the whole time?
I don't know.
Are you gonna do this the whole time?
The whole time.
The whole time? No. And then, we've always talked about the other couple that we were with, that was very instrumental in just being who they were. They were being their authentic and genuine selves. And when they found out we were going through it, she's like, oh no, we're not gonna have that.
Oh,
Just
that helps.
she just like, oh, we're not gonna. And I was just like, oh brother, kind of. But I'm so thankful and I'm so grateful that they saw something, or knew that this is this is where we're supposed to be.
But I'd like to offer the other side of the coin for this. So Snooks was talking about how she has a tendency to really be empathic and really feel what other individuals are going through. And on one hand, it helps tremendously when we do our marriage coaching and we're working with individuals. And it's not just, she has a tendency to have empathy for, the female. She has empathy for the couple, for what they're going through, for the situation and trying to figure. So it helps tremendously in that respect. But on the other side of that is sometimes you just, you start carrying the burden of other individuals. And when she says, and she's going through it, I'm like, well, and so do we, because she runs the gamut of emotions as a result of dealing with these types of things. And that's why we were really trying to watch the Olympics this weekend, because we wanted to give her a distraction, give her something else to put her mind on, something to cheer for.
Well, how.
Though the Toyota commercials did not help at all.
The Toyota commercial.
Like the swimmer with no legs.
Oh, geez.
I mean,
the lady called and said yeah.
Can't wait to meet her.
First of all, I seen that commercial prior. So I already knew it was a crier type of commercial for me, because the very first time I saw it, I was like, love it. I'm going to cry. And I did.
But it's one of those things where we were trying to distract you, because that is one side of, being, you can be overly compassionate. I think maybe, can you?
For me? I mean, there might be a thing, yeah, when you take it on, and I think sometimes it tends, when they're just that close to you, of course,
this person's close to you,
very close, you just want to just, okay, let me help you. But in my helping, it was almost harmful to me, I think. But I mean, we didn't get on this subject to talk about myself, but I just wanted to talk about, so, the question was asked about how do we get back, or how were you able to get back and get reconnected? And I was like, well, we're married into crazy. So the C stands for compassion, and part of having compassion, you have to be able to be compassionate. See,
what does that mean?
Compassion?
You said in order to be compassionate, you have to be compassionate.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. So in order to be compassionate is you want to take away the distress or alleviate the pain and suffering of others.
You want to take it away, or could it just be empathetic to where you can,
well,
I feel where you're coming from?
Well, I mean, empathy and compassion they're closely related.
Okay.
But empathy is like, I'm literally putting myself in your shoes and I'm feeling everything that you're feeling. I'm taking on the burden, not necessarily taking it from you, but I literally feel your pain,
How can we not compassionate when I'm going through stuff?
Oh, Lovey.
No, I'm
like, what are you going through?
I mean, like what?
I know you're saying.
No, I mean, like when there's, I guess you're compassionate. Like if I'm going through stuff, for the job, or like with my cancer, therapy, it's all this stuff. I guess you're compassionate about that. But there's times though where I'm like dealing with our children where you seem to take their side all the time.
I don't always take their side. So we've had this conversation before. Lovey's just like sometimes he's a bull in a china shop, and he doesn't let the whole everything the information settle before he starts biting folks' heads off and whatever. So I like to get all of the information. I over process a lot of times. I know that, but I feel like in my processing, I'm able to extract all of the good nutrients so I can come back to you. It's just like, and give you what you didn't have. So it's almost like you're a juicer. You just squeeze everything out and you drink. But all the good stuff, all the good fiber, I come along and I scoop it up and then I process it and maybe put it in a cup or whatever. And then I come and I spoon feed it to you so that you get all of the nutrients, all of the information, and then you can make a concise decision. Or you can go apologize for biting the children's heads off.
Okay, I'll accept that.
Is that good?
That's good. I'll take that. Okay, but as far as having compassion for others, I mean, it's just, well, this person that you were talking to, what did you tell them as far as how to deal with the situation?
So what we talked about, they asked me about myself, or how to, like, I had to see past my own hurt or my own anger and see you and see you how you were hurting also. So, we like to, the whole thing about the stabbing, it was like everything was just about you. But I was like, hey, well, what about me? I'm basically a victim of circumstance because I was there, but felt like I was blamed. And because I felt like I was blamed, it was easy for me to blame you, because I was angry,
Right.
Because I'm like, well, I'm a victim also, but I'm a victim but I'm not looked at really as the victim. I mean, I might as well, to some people, I might as well just took the knife and did it myself.
Okay, what's that got to do with?
So no, what I'm just saying, I was just kind of talking about how to be able to get through things.
Got you. Okay.
So are you?
No, I was trying to follow. I was just trying to follow.
Whatever. So, she's like, well, because this person did this and this person did that. And, it's like sometimes we think that because of what other people do, we can't be compassionate. No, we can be compassionate, but that comes with being forgiving.
I think they walk hand in hand.
Yeah.
I mean, well, empathy and compassion walk hand in hand. But I think that forgiveness can be a byproduct, if you will, of being compassionate.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because what others do to us, it doesn't make us not be compassionate. We're not, we do that by not being forgiving. When someone does something and you're like, I don't care about blah, 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 because all you're concerned about is the way that it made you feel. You don't stop and be like, okay, let me stop and let me see, look at it from their perspective. Yeah. Let me see how this person might be feeling. What made them feel this kind of way or whatever. So it was like I had to learn how to let go of my resentment. And only when I was able to let go of my resentment was I able to have some peace. Gotcha. Because you can't have peace and be resentful at the same time. They just don't work. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, because you're carrying that burden around with you. There's no way. If you've got resentment built up, and I don't want to say built up, if you're carrying that resentment around like it's a weight around your neck, there's no way you can look from somebody else's perspective, because all you're concerned about is that weight that is bearing you down. Mm-hmm. So
and, no, I think that's really good. And another thing too is though, I think sometimes people like when you talk about having compassion for the person, they think you're justifying the behavior. And it's like, no, I'm not justifying the behavior. I'm just allowing for the experience because it happened, So no, I'm not going to justify the behavior. It happened. I'm going to try to see it from your perspective. And maybe I will never see it from your perspective.
But you're at least attempting to.
Yeah. I am going to attempt to, but I also, you have to realize, I think people need to realize and recognize there's, when you've been hurt, you're not automatically going to bounce back and just be like, okay, let me just see it from your perspective. Obviously there are different levels to it. So depending on what the infraction is, it may take just that much more time for you to be able to shed a little bit of the hurt or the resentment, or be able to
Anger.
and say, okay, let me see, let me think, let me whatever. Because initially I'm all bets are off, gloves coming off, it's on for real, We're
But it
not
takes a
playing with
while. I
this
mean,
thing.
you have to be more mature. But even people that are the most mature are still going to respond with their emotions, especially when it's raw, like you were talking about.
Right.
That's
And then a lot, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No,
Because I'm just talking. Go. You go.
I was just going to say that, and when those emotions are raw, it comes back to what we had talked about before to a certain extent, where you not just the rules of engagement, but also having that word, that safe word. If you can establish that safe word and have something that you can say, it's like, okay, you crossed the line, or this is, I need time to process this, whatever that word is. We were joking around. Our word's really not volleyball, but when we said, volleyball, I mean, volleyball, all caps.
Right. All caps, underline.
Something along those lines where it's like, at least the other person then knows it's serious. Like, just get over it instead of being like, oh, just get over it. I need to move on. I need to talk about it.
Right.
No, this is real. This is something huge. Maybe not for you, but it is for me. And then we need to figure out why it's huge for me and why it isn't for you.
Right. And then too, you think about it, like the whole, that's just so, oh, just get over it. It's like, even though we know we got to get over it, don't tell me to just get over it. That, I feel like that undermines my whole, everything that I'm feeling right now. And if I'm feeling helpless about a situation, then I'm going to feel hopeless. So we don't want to go hopeless, because then what?
Can I just say this as well, that
You can
stop
say
applying,
anything you like.
Stop trying to apply your timeline to what they're doing, especially when you say, okay, I'm being compassionate. I can see where they're coming from. I do. I think I really feel, or I understand what their perspective is. And I get it. Now that I get it, they need to get over it. It's like, no, it's a process, and there's timelines are different for every person. Wounds heal at different rates for every person. If you get cut on your arm, I get cut on my arm, just something as simple as that, like a little scratch, we will heal at different rates. It's not like, oh, everybody has, exactly 27 hours and then the scab will form. No, we all, depending upon metabolism, depending upon all these different biological functions, all these different things that, the nutrients that you have, how much collagen you're intaking versus me, and, all these different things, how well your immune systems work. It's the exact same things when it comes to the emotional scars that we acquire over time because of our relationships. Just because I can heal from something, or think I heal from something, in a couple of days, it might take somebody else a couple of weeks.
You have to respect their process also. And a lot of times, I don't think that, sorry, we do that, And another thing too, it's like when you're able to have compassion, I feel like you're able to problem solve a little bit better. Because if I'm looking at it, I'm trying to see it from your perspective, then I'm going to look for ways to problem solve, or to let's work through it better.
True, because when you're not being compassionate, you're being one-dimensional. You're just seeing things just from one set of eyes, one vantage point, one perspective. But when you do start to think, you know what, I need to be more compassionate. Let me try and see it from your point of view. Now you've at least become two-dimensional.
Right.
You see it from you experiencing it, or at least hearing about it from your standpoint. But then by trying to spin it around and look at it through their eyes, through their experience, through their process, or whatever it is that they're going through, at least then you become two-dimensional. And when you get really good at problem solving in a relationship is when you take that extra step, and then you take a bird's eye view. You're not just trying to look at it from your perspective, you're not trying to look at it from their perspective. Now you're trying to actually go up to the 5,000-foot view and say, now let me look down on this and see them both and how they interact and how we could have both done something a little bit differently. And then once you take that, then you're looking at it from a third dimension. And that three-dimensional view is generally what's going to help you really, become even more compassionate, because you're taking on a third person type of perspective, but you're also going to open yourself up to a higher level of understanding. And through that, I think that's when forgiveness comes.
Right. I agree with that.
If you're the one being, have the infraction against, or if you're the one that's in the middle of it.
Well, I mean, and there's a thing about having to forgive yourself too. I think a lot of times we totally blow past that. We really miss that, because sometimes you just carry the weight, and when you do something wrong and you're just like, oh my gosh, you play it over and over in your own mind, and you tear your own self down, and you're just not able to forgive yourself. It's like forgiveness is forgiveness, whether it's for you or it's for the other person. You have to be able to forgive in order to move on. You can't progress forward if I'm stuck holding on to the grudges and everything. I'm not going to be able to move. You will always stay stuck, and you will always stay stuck, even with where you are in your circumstances, in your situation. Everyone else has moved on, but not just because you can't forgive that person, but because you can't forgive yourself either. When you're unable to forgive yourself, it's like you question every relationship that you have. You talk about trust issues.
Come on.
You manufacture a lot of that stuff yourself, because you haven't forgiven yourself. Father Time waits for no one, and we all know that. So if something happened in the past, I'm not saying, oh, just forget about it and let it go. Like Lovey was saying, you can't just say, oh, just let it go. Okay, I'm going to take my necessary time. I'll reflect on it, and I'm praying that I learn from it so that I don't make the same mistakes before, again. You don't want to repeat the same thing over and over, So, and, just thinking about that whole thing, because you have to be forgiving of yourself, show compassion to yourself too, because sometimes it's like, the things that you thought you were mad about, or the things that you felt like they were issues, the resentments, the problems, they become less and less the more compassion that you apply to the situation.
Right.
Speaking for my own self, when I started to, okay, so not look at you, but look at it from my perspective. I'm looking at it through your eyes, from your perspective. I'm sorry. I saw a whole bunch of different things that I didn't necessarily see when all I saw was it from how I was looking at it. I'm like, oh, okay. Like you were saying, that bird's eye view, I was able to, and when I'm seeing the bird's eye view, I can see the peripheral where I can't, if I'm right there, I don't see that much. So now I'm applying different knowledge, and I'm applying, okay, that's why this is that. Oh, okay. Well, even though I didn't agree with it, I can totally see how this would, or blah, 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 whatever,
We talked about one-dimensional, two-dimensional, three-dimensional, but truth be told, it's really multi-dimensional. Because when you take that bird's eye view and you think you're getting that three-dimensional look, that 3D look, that's when you start to notice that there's other bit players that are in this as well. Then you start to look at, oh, okay, well, you know what? This happened when they were young, or there's all these different things that kind of what we talked about before, talking about the harvest, but it's the root. There's so many things that fed into the entire process that led to where they are right now, or why they did what they did, or why they didn't do what they didn't do, or why they thought the way they did, or so forth. There's so many different things, but it's not until, like you said, we get out of our looking at it from my perspective. Okay, then it's cute when I look at it from your perspective. Okay, it's even better when I look at it from a bird's eye view, that third dimension, looking down and getting a better picture But when I look at that picture, it widens out. And then it's like, okay, there's so many factors that went into this.
More information.
It's not so black and white.
Right.
And because of that, I can't just approach it from one direction.
Right.
And when you're able to do that, it helps tremendously. And I'll tell you how you do that. If you go to our website and you actually take a look, there's the disc assessment that's there. We talk about taking a consultation and the assessment. It helps you really know yourself so much better. And the things that we do, we're both certified disc consultants. We utilize Intermetrics, and it's a phenomenal program. And we've been able to help so many individuals get a better vibe on why they do what they do, or that at least their preferences and tendencies. But even more than that, when we work with our couples, we really help each other not just understand yourself, but really talk to each other and share your assessments, your readouts, the printouts you get. It's a 23-page document that you get. And you start talking about, I can't tell you how many times people said, now I see why you respond the way you do. Or now I can see now why we got into an argument over this one thing because of A, B, and C. And it's a really great way. If you don't want the full coaching, something you can do though to really help each other out, to really get yourself prepared for that next level relationship, if you're still single and you're looking at it, is to really go and get the assessment with a consultation. It's not really expensive. It really isn't when you think about the value that you're going to get and what it can, the dividends that can pay for you and your relationship, whether it's a current relationship or one that you're looking to get into down the road.
I agree with that.
It's a huge part. And it'll help you be more compassionate, more real, more accountable, more zealous, and definitely more yielding when it comes to being crazy in your relationship.
Yeah. So I just want to, there was something that I found about a statement, not so much of a statement, but there's a passage that talks about compassion. It says, compassion is not a relationship between the healer and the wounded. It's a relationship between two equals. Only when we know our own darkness only when we know our own darkness well, can we be present with the darkness of others. Compassion becomes real when we recognize our shared humanity. And that's by Pema Chodron. She's a Tibetan Buddhist and ordained nun. And I just really, I saw that.
That last part
before.
Again? The shared humanity?
Only when compassion becomes real when we recognize our shared humanity.
That's deep.
Yeah, I thought so too. I always wanted to kind of throw that in somewhere. And I was like, oh, here we go.
No, that's really good because it does really come down to that shared experience. That shared humanity, knowing that we all make mistakes, we all believe the same, and no one is better than anybody else. And that we have to recognize that I'm just as fallible as the next person.
Right. Exactly. And knowing our own darkness well.
That's deep.
That's heck of deep, right? I was like, oh, okay, I see you, Pima.
That's true, because as much light, that we each of us possesses light and darkness. Mm-hmm. And a big part of being compassionate is recognizing that I have light and darkness and you have light and darkness. And maybe this one time you didn't manage your darkness as well as I hoped you had. But it's not pointing the finger and saying, oh, you've got darkness.
Right.
It's like saying, you know what? It squeaked out. And I have it as well.
Right.
Because we all have moments where we're not shining in the best light, so to speak.
That's right. We've always, what is that? A lot of times you see people, you get a snapshot of the worst day of their life or whatever, and we use that one snapshot to judge that person. I'm not talking about when you commit a crime like murder or whatever, but I mean there have been instances where you'd be like, oh my gosh, why did I do that? And someone just so happened to catch you doing that. And so now you're a villain,
Oh, absolutely.
I thank God so much that I'm like, oh, I'm so glad there were no cameras around when I've done some of my, dastardly deeds.
Right? Back when, in your youth, that's when they were like, chiseling pictures on tabernacles, and they didn't have cameras back then.
You keep playing. But you know what I'm saying.
I know what you mean. No,
some of the
social
worst,
media.
yeah,
So everyone capturing everything.
wasn't
Heck,
captured. But I mean, I know that I'm not a malice or malicious or type of person like that. But if someone was to catch me on a bad moment, I don't want to say a bad day, just a bad moment,
that's all it is. There are no bad days. There's bad moments, and then we linger on it all day.
Right. Yeah.
So, hey, I hope you guys enjoyed that. It's one of those things where it's an ongoing conversation. This won't be the last one to talk about being compassionate, what it means. As a matter of fact, I think what we'll do is continue to do deep dives on what it means to be crazy. And that's compassionate, real, accountable, zealous, and yielding for the next several weeks. And we do have some interviews that are coming up. We had to reschedule the interview that we had this weekend. The couple that we were going to chat with had a family emergency. And so we needed to, they called and said, we need to really put this on that back burner. So we're going to revisit that. What?
Okay. Are you just telling all their business?
Right. Sorry. No. So this is where we pull from the I Can. This is 40 different affirmations in every I Can. And we appreciate those of you that are buying the I Can. We really like that because we know that this is a practice that you're going to be doing in your home as well. And whether it's picking one of these for both of you to focus on, or you're pulling them individually yourself, or you're focusing on it for the week or the day, what have you, create your own tradition. But we love that more and more people are getting these.
Okay, so mine says, I can accept my partner for who he is.
Can you though? Can you? When I sing, when I'm being goofy,
when you like to sing it?
About the moon and the June and the spring.
I don't even think that's the words, but okay.
It is. It's a song.
All right.
Anyway, mine says, I can give my partner more attention. Exactly what she wants from me on a daily. That she's trying to hide. Can I just have some space?
No, because Lovey's attention, he misconstrues what that means. I don't mean trying to tell me what to do.
You turn your nose up to the attention I give you?
Oh my God, that's not giving me
You treat my attention like a yellow banana skateboard?
Like a 10-speed. It's supposed to be a BMX.
Right. Look, a red-orange 10-speed.
That's so wrong. That's funny. Be grateful.
That ended up becoming my favorite color for whatever reason.
Oh, orange, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, and red is mine.
I think he beat it into me.
Oh, okay.
You know what? I'm gonna talk to Dad this weekend. Be like, remember that time you got me that bike?
He's like, yeah, Orange Junior, I do remember.
And that's my cue to shut up at that point. Hey, speaking of shutting up, that's what we're going to do right now. So, hey, we appreciate each and every one of you. Tell your mama, tell your auntie, tell your cousin, tell everybody about the Married and Crazy podcast. And make sure you're sharing. Share.
And going and putting 5 on it.
Amen. So until the next time, be blessed.
Bye-bye.
Why are you always trying to take my stand?
Let's go.